Hello, virtual. Let's see the question. The question says that experiment 1, 2, and 3 were conducted wherein synthetic vesicles containing F0, F1 ATP synthase were prepared and incubated overnight in a tube. Subsequently, the vessels were transferred to another tube which also contained ADP and P, inorganic phosphate. So experiment 1 is conducted in this two tube, and experiment 2 are given here, and experiment 3 here. So which one of the following is correct? That is, subsequently the vesicles were transferred to the another tube which is also containing the ADP and inorganic phosphate. This is the F0, F1 ATP synthase and synthetic vesicles are given here. So this is the pH are given here, and this is the ADP and inorganic phosphate in the another tube, different tube. So first one is given that a proton gradient across the vesicular membrane will be present in both experiment 1 and 2 at the transfer time. So in this part, that is a proton gradient across a vesicular membrane. These are the synthetic vesicular membrane. This is present in the both the experiment 1 and 2. So we have to consider experiment 1 and experiment 2. So a proton gradient, because this experiment 3 having the pH, this is having the pH 7 and 7, but its pH are varied in the different tubes. This is having the pH 8.0 and this is having the pH 4.0, and this is also having the 4.0 and 8.0. So for that the proton gradient, so there will be, so in the so as the pH are different in the both tube, so for that a proton gradient is formed across the vesicular membrane. This is present in the both experiment, that is experiment 1 and experiment 2 here, at the same time of the transformation. So option A is correct. Explaining. Then B is given that as consequently of the proton gradient ADP, as a consequence of the proton gradient ATP will be synthesized in the both experiment 1 and 2. So let's see. That means the proton gradient ATP will synthesized ATP. So all these experiment, all this tube, that is second tube, ADP and Pi are present all the tubes. So for that, when we combine ADP with inorganic phosphate, they are in the presence of ATP synthase. So this is the F0, F1 particle, and this in the different proton gradient there will be formation of ATP. So this is given that this is present in both 1 and 2. No, this is found in ATP will form synthesized in all the experiments, experiment 1, 2 and also in the 3. So this one is wrong. Then C is given that ATP will be synthesized in experiment 3 because F0, F1 ATP synthase has the inherited property to catalyze the synthesis of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. So as I discussed in the B part, that is this is the property, this is the catalyzation property for the synthesis of ATP, that this ATP is formed from the combinations of ADP and inorganic phosphate. In presence of ATP synthase, there will be formation of ATP. So not only in the experiment 3 but also in the both the experiment, that is experiment 1 and experiment 2, there will be a formation of ATP. So this is wrong here. D is given that ATP will be synthesized in experiment 2 because the proton has to flow out of the vesicle through the F0, F1 ATP synthase for the ATP synthesis. So for that, this is given that ATP will synthesize in the experiment 2, that is it is having the pH 4 and this is having the pH 8, because the proton has the flow out of the vesicle through the F0, F1 ATP synthase to form the ATP. So this is correct here, this part, because for the F0, F1 ATP synthase, this is form the ATP synthesis, and there will be difference in the pH level. So option number D is correct, that is A and D are correct answer in this question. I hope you understood it. Best of luck.